to
Yeah.
introduce Paul.
Actually would like to introduce two people today. So if I can get Paul to come up first. Start with Paul, Sean to my right. So Paul Thompson is our Economic Development Lead. Paul started with us roughly 3 weeks ago now. Hey, Paul.
Yep.
And so maybe if we can just take a couple of minutes for Paul to introduce himself, and then I'll introduce you to Sean as well. And Paul, you'll need to come closer probably to the microphone up the front there by the presenters. Just
Okay.
Could please?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Good morning, all.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. It's been a very warm welcome for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've enjoyed myself. Thank you. There's a lot of information to assimilate, but that's all good. I'm Paul Thompson, new Economic Development Lead. I appreciate this is the first sort of foray into economic development within the Kaikoura District Council, and the expectations are high, and I'd like to meet those expectations as we go through. My background is in foreign direct investments, banking. I ran an advertising agency for 13 years. I've been a people manager most of my life, and I've done a lot of stuff that qualifies me for this role. It's been an interesting sort of transition from, I've worked with Thames Coromandel District Council recently, and comparing the two councils, I appreciate how well set up and what a great culture we've got within this council compared to what I've experienced previously. I previously worked with Auckland Regional Council as a foreign direct investment manager, where my job was to unite the 8 regions of the Auckland district, which was no mean feat in itself. A lot of politics involved in that and a lot of egos. So I kind of, I cut my teeth in the council sort of surrounds in that environment. What else do I know? I've got 5 children, most of which are entrepreneurs. They're doing very well, thank you. And I'm still married after 42 years. I live in Orewa. I travel up here in a motorhome at the time being to make life a little bit easier. So I'm looking forward to working with you all. I'm looking forward to meeting you all. And that's just about me. Is there any questions anybody's got?
What have you got sorted already?
It's all done. So next week I'll be presenting a roadmap to Jason, which will outline at a high level the expectations that I want to fulfil in the coming 12 months. I appreciate my role as a part-time role, and it's for a year at present. I'd love to see that extended as we go through. So it's down to me to make that happen. So that's me.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome, Councillor. Excuse me, Paul. Got a question from Councillor Nair up on the screen. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Paul, welcome here.
Thank you.
Just a question. How do we contact you? Are you going to send something? You are based in Orewa. Would you be coming to Dargaville at some point, or how are you going
Yes, I will be up in Dargaville as often as I can be. I think the next time is next week. I should be up there.
Would you let me know?
Yes, I will do. Yes, no problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all good.
Thanks, Paul. And there's cheers. Thank you. So while I've got the floor, I've got an opportunity to also introduce you to Sean Baker here on our right. Sean is our principal planner, I understand. So Sean, you started a month ago? 3
weeks. Yeah, same day as what Paul did.
Yeah. So you can sit here if you want and just introduce yourself, because there's a microphone right there. Right, well. Yeah.
I'll let the tree go.
Yeah. The floor's yours for a minute.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Sean Baker. Most of you will have met me previously, as I've been in front of quite a few council meetings over the last few years. My previous role, I was a contractor to, as my private business, mainly to NTA, doing all the speed limit work. So that's where you'll probably recognise my face from, particularly the early speed limit work. I started a few weeks ago, principal planner across the road here, and currently just working on some practice notes and things like that to try and streamline and improve the the consenting process, looking at ideas around that sort of area. My general background is I have worked for a range of councils. I worked for North Regional Council, Whangarei, Kaipara, and obviously contracted to Far North as well. So I know my way around the area. Done a fair bit of work over a period of time. I used to work for Duffel Watts / I don't know what they ended up in when Duffel Watts had the old professional services contract for Kaipara District Council. So that got me working on a lot of infrastructure type work on the planning side of things, in the water, wastewater, and waste sort of area. So I'm quite familiar with Kaipara District, which is hopefully going to help quite well. So that's really about me. I'm based up in, I live up in Whangarei and have a very scenic commute each day when I come down here.
Thanks. Go ahead, councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Sean. Good to have you on board. I'm interested to know, because I don't have that much background with planning and things like that, what's the one key thing that you think that you can bring to really improve things on that consenting area for people in the Kaipara area?
I think that one area that I do particularly well in is the ability to bridge the gap between planning and engineers and developers. I've had a lot of roles sort of in the semi-engineering side of things, so I'm actually able to talk to the developers and the engineers in their language a bit more and convert that back to plan speak and vice versa. And I think that's in any council, often that's a big issue to try and bridge that gap.
So on that basis, would it be fair, as an assumption, that given you're based in Whangarei, as you say, so that you'll be spending an awful lot of time here and possibly Dargaville, you know, working with the team?
That's correct. So I'm here a minimum of 3 days a week, office, or obviously Dargaville. Early days yet, I've only been here for a couple of weeks, so finding my feet around in that place.
Good man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean. And where do you fit into the organisational structure? Who do you report to?
Okay, so I report to Lloyd.
Yeah, so you're in the consents, you're in the resource.
I'm in the resource consents section. I sit alongside the consents team. So I'll be providing some advice and things like sign off and that type of thing. A bit of coaching for the consenting team.
Awesome. Okay, thanks very much and welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Right, first up we have Alistair Dunlop with the building team's brag sheet. And we're looking forward to you taking us through that.
Morning, Worship. Morning, councillors.
Just before you start, I see Ash Nair has popped his hand up again.
Yep.
You have something to add, Ash?
Something to take away. I think the screen, the shared content is taking everything. I can't even couldn't see the faces of the two newcomers. Can we somehow get a better view? All I say is building, improving customer experience on my screen. Can't see any faces, can't see that. Is it the way it's being presented? I don't know.
I don't know. That might be the settings that you're using on your screen. I wouldn't know from this end, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Jump in if you like, Alana.
So, Councillor Nair, you don't usually see the presenters, and also you would have just seen the little box of the meeting room. So I could have stopped showing the PowerPoint, but it's
Okay.
a bit unfortunate, but yeah,
Whatever.
you would have been able to make out.
That's fine. I know the faces of others people anyway. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Alana. Thank you, Alistair. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the opportunity to present a progress update on the work we've been progressing with over the last 12 months in trying to improve our customer experience around building. One of the key initiatives we introduced back in March of last year was a dedicated survey going out to all applicants for processing and also inspections. This was due to the fact that the resident survey results that we get back don't really give us any meaningful responses from applicants. And so we progressed this on our own. So we've just launched another 150 surveys out the last couple of weeks. And to our delight, I think we've demonstrated through the internal discussions that we're having with our team. So we're trying to monitor not only ourselves, but also the work of our contractors. So the feedback that we get is shared each month with our team, our building team, and follow-up discussions with contractors where we believe there's some differences of opinion between the applicant and the contractors and the way they're processing consents. And it's often coming down to technical matters and interpretation of the Act or the building code. So, but overall, the results have been pretty pleasing, to be honest. The helpfulness of processes and overall experience at 84% and 87%, and that's continuing to grow over time. So my next task now is to really measure how that's progressing over the 12-month period as to just a snapshot like this, so we can see, are we actually making progress in the right areas? So demonstrate the action. But it's been pretty pleasing actually with how we're going. And I think the applicants really appreciate the fact that they're getting a say in this, and it's often those follow-up discussions with them that help iron out some of those issues.
Can I
jump.
ask just a quick question there on that? When you talk about the applicants, Alistair, what sort of ratio have you got between individuals, i.e. homeowners,
Yep.
Who may not actually get involved in this process because the builders will do most of it? So is it mainly builders?
Surprisingly, a lot of owners,
Is it?
have come forward with the responses to these surveys.
Particularly the building consent?
Yeah. So where we don't get a lot of negative feedback from owners, to be fair. It's more coming from agents and more the issues around processing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So moving forward, we continue to promote the Builders App. It's been challenging, to be fair. So this is basically allowing a builder to book an inspection through a mobile phone app rather than having to do everything through the phone to customer services. It's quite challenging for some builders. They're a little bit more old school, probably aren't more familiar with the technologies. And so we just got to work out how we give them greater support to make them realise how efficient the system really is. Which leads me on to Objective Build. So the customer module that was launched in November last year, there's the Builders Inspection app is going to be mounted into that Builders app as well. So Objective Build actually gives the applicant the ability to actually lodge a building consent through a mobile app. It doesn't have to be done through your computer. So the booking inspection app will actually be part of that integral module for the customer. We're going to be seeing that likely around April, May this year to be launched. Feedback so far on Objective Build has been largely very successful, particularly with some of the larger players who are now starting to see the visibility of all their consents across all BCAs that use the same software. It's really, really encouraging. It's a much more disciplined process now for applicants, which is really good. And we give them all the support that we can or direct contact with Objective Build if they need any guidance on using the system. Stepping back to the building surveys, some of the feedback we were getting was largely around natural hazards. And, sorry, is it Gordon was wanting to?
That's all right, just
okay,
on what you're saying,
going,
going to the questions in a minute.
We were taking some of the feedback that was coming through the surveys and we tried to target a building forum, which was on the 30th of November here in Mangawhai. Feedback from that was fantastic. So, you know, we talked about Mayor Gypsum was kind enough to open the meeting up really about activating growth and sharing the objectives of council. Lloyd did a presentation on resource consent planning to give an idea of the kind of work that's going on around the district. We spent quite a bit of time on natural hazards to give some better guidance on how natural hazards apply to building consents. We then looked into the area of geotech and engineering reports and how we use those specialists to review building consents, and we talked about fees and charges and the implication of using engineers and the costs that are involved with that. Feedback was fantastic from the attendees. We actually sent the presentation to, I think we invited, gosh, about 80 applicants or attendees to that. We elected to send the whole presentation out to all invitees, even those that couldn't attend, and we also sent a question and answer because the questions were coming in on the day. We managed to respond to each of those and we sent that out as well. So that's really helped the feedback that's coming back from agents. So it's a continuous journey. So there's more of these to be held, including builders forums, which are more targeted towards processing and inspections as opposed to these kinds of issues. So yeah, it's going to be more operational based.
Let's go to a couple of questions from Councillor Nair and then Councillor Lambert. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a couple of questions. Firstly, the objective build the mobile application. Does it do the whole 9 yards, or is just give you ability to put in the application? Can you do whatever you do on the computer?
Yes, it gives you full scope of functionality through your mobile phone. It's probably not recommended because to do everything because of the need to upload files and documents. It's probably better to do that sort of thing through your laptop or computer. But the advantage of the Builders app is that particularly companies like GJ Gardners, they can get a view of all building consents and the status of each of those consents throughout the districts that they're operating through. So it's a very visible tool.
Okay. The second question, the building forum, I actually attended it. So out of 80 applications, I guess only 4 or 5 attended because there was more staff than the invitees. I actually met 3 or 4 people around. So I think what we can do to make the next one a bit of success, was it lack of reminding them of the event a day before, or what was it? What could we do? That's just a comment.
It's hard to say. I think it's the degree of interest I think that maybe agents have and want to come and sit down to a presentation. That said, the feedback that I've had from those that didn't attend, I think it's going to be encouraging them to come forward and actually attend the next session. We've also gone back to them and said, you know, before we attend or hold another forum, we'd be very keen to see the types of topics that they would be interested in listening to and wanting more information about, as opposed to us trying to guess what we think they want to hear. It's going to be particularly for the builders forums where we're talking to actual builders about processing and inspections. We're wanting them to come to us with the issues that they're facing that will help us to respond directly to those points. So I think that will, as the word gets around, I'm pretty sure we'll be, you know, gaining momentum on that. The builders forum will be held across Mangawhai and Dargaville because we're trying to share the load, as opposed to bringing builders across from the other side.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Did you have a question, Councillor Lambeth?
Yeah, it's probably not a question. It's just a comment for the benefit of everyone else here. In my other field, of course, you'll all be aware that I have converted from Alpha 1 over to Objective Build. Very challenging at the start, but the more and more you use it, the better it is coming on. And it's just going to take the people time and the agent's time and more skin in the game to get there. But I do believe it will be a better product. Just one other thing, the picture up in the top there, Lloyd, that's a very handsome building. What's that?
I put that in, I put it in just for you.
Thank you.
Some old shed out in the back block.
Yeah. Not in Kaifra.
All right, thanks. Alistair.
Very good.
That's cool. That's good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Mr Mayor and councillors.
Morning, Lord.
Good morning. Yeah, so look, I'll just give you a bit of an update on staff, and obviously great to have Sean joining the team. And then I'll go into the other improvement initiatives. Maybe we'll just follow the attachment to your report. Yeah, so just to let you know, we're now fully staffed, I'm glad to say, which is fantastic. You know, it has been a struggle. Most of last year we were significantly understaffed, and that pushed up the use of consultants as a consequence of that. So it's great to now be fully staffed. The consultant use will come down as, you know, our new staff come up to speed. So in addition to Sean coming on board, we've got a senior planner, Enrico Shortles. He's from South Africa, so you know, the principles of planning are very similar between New Zealand and South Africa. He does need to get up to speed with the details. And we've also got another planner, Michael Deenan, has also joined the team as well. He's from Ireland, so we've got a few people from overseas. So that's great. And as mentioned, you know, Sean's role is really giving extra grunt to the improvement initiatives. So that's great. Also quality control, hence the practice notes, getting consistency in our approach and making sure that it is, you know, focused on delivering great customer service. Dealing with more complex applications as part of his brief, and also coaching, mentoring the younger staff, and being a key person in terms of, you know, significant development like Monkify Central, being the key guru in terms of, you know, those sorts of developments. So that's Sean's role. And we're really looking forward to working with Paul coming on. Really hope we can improve our relationships with the development community, and get the feedback through Paul in terms of, you know, further opportunities to improve. So yeah, look, I'll just run through the PowerPoint. I'll just make a few brief notes. I just set out where the improvement initiatives come from and given a bit of an update, you know, how we're going in terms of tracking with them. So the first one there was the Bark and Associates 2019 audit. Happy to say we've ticked off the recommendations. Some of that's ongoing in terms of, you know, training, etc. But we've ticked off all the recommendations. The last one was the procurement for consultants that we finished off towards the end of last year. Next one is, you know, making sure our consultants are aware of the activating growth philosophy. Oh, sorry. And, you know, Jason's very well much summarised that in his famous memo of the 8th of June. That forms part of the contract with our consultants. We're also doing that internally with our staff in terms of team meetings, team briefs, and the onboarding process, you know, for our new planners. Make sure they're aware of that memo, and we go through in terms of just elaborating on that in terms of the outcomes we're seeking. The next one is the SSA, Safe System Audits. So you'll recall this came up when Mark Farnsworth did his audit. He said, hey, really, NTA need to justify this approach. So just in summary, I'll give you a quick summary. Safe System Audits, they basically are risk assessment to assessing traffic impacts or traffic effects. They sort of take into account, you know, the consequence of something happening, you know, that ranging from a minor injury to death. And then they put in a sort of likelihood of that happening from, you know, unlikely to highly likely. And it goes through this matrix, and they use that to assess applications. Look, it has been, to be honest, it's caused some tension tension between the Resource Consents Team and NTA, and there's still concern out there from the development community in terms of these SSAs, because they are a new approach to assessing traffic impacts. Originally, they came from NZTA. They were part of the, to get funding through the NZTA, you had to do an SSA assessment of whatever, was being considered the proposal. And NZTA encouraging road and controlling authorities to apply this approach. So look, we haven't got a consensus on it at the moment. We're working to get a consensus on it. We're getting some criteria, draft criteria, prepared. We're a week away from receiving that, and that will form the basis of further discussions with NZTA in terms of where we land with the SSAs. Maybe there is a role for SSAs, but in my mind, it's very much at the higher end of things. We'll see where the criteria lead us to. Also, it will come up, I think, in the engineering standards. I'm pretty sure Whangarei District Council have actually put it into their engineering standards. So that's another area where the engineering standards will come to you. So you need to look at it and make sure you're comfortable there as well.
Councillor Nail would just like to ask a question.
Okay, Chair. I'm being not an expert like you, Lloyd, would you explain to us what exactly is safe system audits? How it's going to be, as a layman terms, affecting the condition of road treatment or whatever it is meant to be? And as you said, there's a point of contention. So I'm just a bit worried in terms of performance of these MTA. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point. Look, to be honest, I don't understand them. Completely understand them. I understand the concept, but not the detail. All I can say, Councillor Mayor, is it's applying that sort of risk approach to it. What the potential impact is, ranging from a minor accident to someone ending up in hospital to a fatality, and then it's assessing the probability of that and using some sort of formula, some sort of principles to work out if, say, it's a fatality, high risk. You look at measures, how do you bring that back down to a safer sort of loading outcome? So you might look at that in terms of, say, if you're looking at a proposal is for a T intersection, new T intersection. You'd look at that risk, SSA risk, and then assess that against, say, another option of a roundabout. And, if the roundabout gave you lower risk to reduce the consequences and the likelihood of that happening, then you'll choose the roundabout option compared to the T intersection. That sort of thing. Look, you've got to be an expert traffic engineer to be able to do this, apply SSAs. And I also understand there's some sort of certification as well that only some traffic engineers have to be able to do it. So I know the concern from the development community is the additional costs and potential delays in their project. I totally understand.
So if I may ask you, because this issue is also raised in RTC, this safety-based analysis was designed to have less traffic management on case-to-case basis. If that's the case, the point of contention from the council side, do you want more stringent or less stringent safety controls?
I think we want safe roads, I think most people would support that. I think most developers support that. But the question here is the approach to determine what is safe and what is not, and what mitigation measures are appropriate. And that's been done obviously for a long time in the Resource Management Act through traffic experts, qualified people, giving their evidence, giving their evaluation of traffic effects. And this is a new model, a new approach to determine what is safe and what is not, and the treatment you apply if it's not safe. So yeah, and there's pushback, and there's probably arguments for and against SSAs. So it is contentious. You know, we have had the traffic experts from, you know, I can think of 3 off the top of my head for fairly, you know, reasonable sized developments, where the applicant's traffic engineer has said, hey, SSAs are not required, and they've provided, you know, reasons for them not being required. They've justified it. And actually the NTA have changed their mind on it, which is sort of good, but we've got to come to a consensus on it. Because I think at the moment we've got this new philosophy being applied, but, you know, just like your question, what are they? That hasn't been explained to our customers. And they don't know when the criteria, when they're going to be applied or when not. So I guess that's a vacuum we're trying to fill, first through getting these criteria sorted, getting an common understanding when we're going to apply SSAs, and then, you know, secondly, communicating that back to the development community so they understand. You know, I'm confident we've got, you know, the common goal is safe roads. It's just about, hey, what is the most efficient way in terms of, you know, consenting processes to get there? And does that involve SSAs? And if it does, you know, to what extent?
Thank you, Lloyd. My concern is just one, that because of this tug of war, the projects are not being delayed anyways. They should carry on. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And we have, I mean, agree with you totally on that. You know, we're working on that and had some assistance from the CEO on that aspect.
Yeah, just from Jason, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, look, you know, Lloyd's outlined it quite beautifully today. The SSA has been a bone of contention in some ways. We're putting some processes in place to try and not remedy it, but work through that to make sure that we've got a bit more rigour to it. I suppose if I can sort of provide an analogy of what it's similar to, it is to me very similar to the safety standards that have been applied to roadworks previously, and that has gone quite far down a pendulum to one end, and we need to bring it back. And we've discussed that as a council previous as well, about how we're doing that with the NTA yesterday. In some ways it's a bit like that, you know, the pendulum swung a little bit, possibly too far here, and we need to make sure that we protect the council and the future assets of the council as they are devolved to us too, and the risk to council, but at the same time not making it overly bureaucratic and problematic for developers, given that, you know, we want to encourage development and good development in our district. So there is a balance in that, but we are working really hard in that space, and Lloyd's doing that work at the moment, and the NTA are working quite closely with Lloyd about any SSAs moving forward. So it's a watching brief. We're across it, and we're working hard in that space to deliver what you guys have given us direction on.
Thanks, Councillor Howard.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I might have missed it, Lloyd. This SSA scheme was dictated down from NZTA and applied through NTA, right? So I think that, and to me, it's coming through that it's talking about the physical aspects of roads and connections and things like that. And I take heart, and the CEO, as Maris has just referenced it, conversation that was had at our briefing yesterday about, you know, our bone of contention is the money that is wasted on traffic controls and that, if you like the softer side, where the pendulum has swung. Now that they are looking at a lot less robust application of that. So, you know, I'm sure that it will.
We'll get it.
Diversity will not, but stymie this.
No.
Resolve.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just with regard to that, I mean, I think, as you've alluded to, it's going to come through the engineering standards review, and I guess my feeling for it is that it's as you've alluded to, it's a high level type of arrangement that's sort of coming further and further down the pecking order, and we probably need to land somewhere where we go, well, when do you need one? is it for an arterial road or a feeder road, or is it actually mostly for where you have an intersection of one of those roads with a state highway
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
volume of traffic being changed on? It's also interesting that we still sort of have this, there's sort of a feeling that the NTA and the council are two separate things, you know. NTA are our council staff, they're part of us, and we pay them.
Yep.
So we shouldn't ever end up at loggerheads, we should be working together, eh?
Definitely.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thank you. Just onto the iwi consultation, and you recall that Mark pointed out that consultation with iwi is not mandatory. So there's a bit of an update there in terms of working it through. I sort of broke it down into three areas, three aspects to it. One is our obligations for summaries of applications to be given out to Iuri Ohau and Te Araroa. Now that's under the, there's a couple of settlement acts for legislation that sets it out. The other question is when it's appropriate to seek further information. I think that was, you know, Mark's main point. We were overdoing that relating to cultural impacts. And then thirdly, determining...
Sorry, Chair, can we get the right screen on top? I'm still on the old screen. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor. The third one was, you know, determining whether iwi are adversely affected or not when making decisions to non-notify and notify applications. So just in terms of the obligations under the Settlements Act, we actually discovered that, and I was rather surprised about this, Te Iuri Ohau, our obligation has actually expired. It's through a regulation. But that means we not necessarily will stop. We need to have further discussions with Te Iuri Ohau on that. I need to provide a recommendation back to Jason. And we'll take it from there, but I need to do that in consultation with Te Iuri Ohau and, you know, certainly aware of our obligations under the Memorandum of Understanding. And this is where Sean comes in terms of working on guidelines for staff to identify, you know, those two other aspects when it's appropriate to seek further information, and a bit of a guidance in terms of deciding whether iwi are affected or not. But, you know, certainly confirm that Mark is dead right. It's not mandatory for the iwi consultation. So this is still a bit of a work in progress. Set a date for April to wrapping that one up, and again, hopefully reaching consensus and moving on.
And with regard to the charge that was being charged that wasn't in the fees and charges schedule, have you quantified how many people were affected by that at this stage, or?
Yeah, last year, I look back, it was about $15,000 we collected through the year from that source. But we did realise that, you know, it wasn't in our schedule of fees and charges. Yes. So I've actually included it in our fees and charges for the 24-25 financial year. But of course, you know, that's up to council to approve or not. It is simply the administration cost of providing that service. You know, some of it we've obligated to do so. With Te Iuri Ohau, maybe you haven't got a statutory obligation, but maybe it's the right thing to do anyway. But, you know, that ultimately that's council's cause on the fees and charges.
Sure, thank you.
Next one is a service level agreement with NTA. Good news is that has now been signed off. So that's just really making clear expectations in terms of, you know, timeliness for comments back from the NTA or their reviews and the quality of their assessments. So that's great. Online lodgement platform, hoping to emulate the good work done by the building services team and have a similar online lodgement portal that is subject to the long-term plan. So we'll wait and see if that gets through, and we're doing a little bit of work, exploratory work with Far North, Whangarei and Auckland Council in terms of the systems they're using. Unfortunately, I don't think Objective have developed into the resource consent area, have they? They've just confined to building consents. Other one, again, copying Alistair's good work. Again, emulate the building consents customer service survey. That's still to be kicked off. The road naming seems to have sorted itself out. Debbie's doing a good job there. Next bit of work is a review of the road naming policy, and Sean will be working on that piece of work.
Just got a couple of questions there, Councillor Nair and then Councillor Lambeth.
Well, mine was just more a quick question on service level agreement. Is it renewed or is it a new one?
It's a new one. It's never had one before. So, yeah, it's a new initiative.
So what is the duration of the survey? Is it in line with the NTA agreement, or is it forever, or is it a corollary to the previous agreement?
It is sort of ongoing. It's sort of rollover. It gets reviewed annually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get a copy of this, please, the elected members?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Lambeth.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Lloyd, I'm just wondering, it would be great to have the resource consents going through a portal. However, I'm just wondering whether it's a little bit foolhardy if we start trying to invent something. How about we do a bit of research and see if Objective Build is going to expand to it, or if there are any other councils who have one, because it's always best to copy off somebody else, I believe, in this case.
Yeah, particularly in the tech space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those disasters out there.
We can go down a rabbit hole and we can't come back. So, you know, we jumped in on Alpha 1 and that's been a huge success. So my suggestion is we look at the success we had with Alpha 1, how cheap it was for us by copying somebody else and then making the mistakes.
Yep. Okay. No. Good points. And thank you for that feedback. Yeah, we can certainly do that. We have had a look. It would be interesting, Whangarei Council. Look, Far North told me that their one was pretty hopeless, actually. They're a bit disappointed in that. So it'd be interesting to see the Whangarei one, which I think they launched towards the end of last year. But you're right, you know, we've got to go out and check out the market. We'll have to go through a procurement process and make sure that's robust and we don't end up with a lemon, you know. Yeah, got to get that right.
Thanks, gents. I'll just let Lloyd finish his presentation. We'll take
just about there. So on the cultural side, doing work to reinforce the memo from Jason in terms of activating growth, do that through team meetings, celebrating successes where we have them and the performance reviews, and part of the onboarding of new staff. It's really important we get, you know, they understand the culture of the organisation. So it's good to see where we're improving on our marginal breaches. You know, we've got increasing number where we give an exemption for, you know, a minor breach. So I think that's a bit of an indicator anyway. We're on the right track, but still that's where we can continually progressed. Minor consents, we launched that, a little bit disappointed in my results there. Didn't get a real big uptake, so looking to expand the criteria. So the minor consents, sorry, I need to change the screen. The minor consents have a set fee component to them, so it gives the applicant that certainty. So we'll expand that. We'll review the criteria for getting peer reviews done. Just want to make sure this is a peer review where we might get a specialist involved, whether it's an ecologist or a landscape architect. I want to make sure we're not overdoing that. So again, that's we'll review that and a job for Sean to look at. We're going to review the pre-application process. I think we just need to make sure we provide solutions, we provide certainty where we can, but also recognising ultimately it's a regulatory process, so we can't compromise the ultimate decision. Getting that balance right there. And finally, Council ticked off the amendment to the hearings policy, so we can send, you know, controversial applications to hearing commissioners to make decisions on whether they're notified or not, which, you know, can be contentious on the odd one. So there we have it. Thank you, councillors. Happy to answer any other questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lloyd. Did you have another question there, Councillor Lambeth, or have you just got your hand up by accident? Councillor Nair, go ahead. You're on mute.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, good to know that you have a full team, Lloyd. So these two people, the one from South Africa and one from Ireland, what is their status? Are they online, or like in terms of working from home, or I'm just concerned where they will be based then?
Yeah, they are based in Mangawhai, and they are 100% in the office. You know, we have a policy about, you know, working from home. With the newer staff, we expect them, and we've been upfront about them, to maximise the training they get. They really need to be in the office 100% initially, and then we'll go from there. Just want to make sure we support them and train them properly.
Okay, so would you ask them to show their face for a free coffee from me in Dargaville, so at least we know who those people are? That'll be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one last, the minor consents introduction. So if I take minor consent, is it the consents which Councillor Lambert talked about, little variations, or is it like having those minor consent for minor buildings and all? What kind of minor consents are these?
Yeah, we've got some criteria which set it out. But stuff like if you have a breach of, say, impermeable surface, maybe building coverage. So it's, you know, for, I guess, a little bit more than a minor breach, which we can just sign off and say, let's not worry about it. They're a bit over that mark, but they're simple, straightforward application. Straightforward, what we call development.
Okay. It will be good to have a sample of what is minor consent. Yeah, thank you for that. Cheers. Very good.
CE Maris just wants to add something here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just regarding the staffing side of things, hey. So, you know, I mean, obviously you're all aware this is a difficult district to staff in that we have an office in Mangawhai and an office in Dargaville. Councillor Nair, just because we have a team based in Mangawhai does not mean that our staff don't travel to Dargaville or vice versa. We do travel quite a bit, and we do travel between offices, and we also do work from home, and our systems allow that to occur. So, you know, I appreciate your commentary about that, but however, we just need to rest assured that our staff do cover the broad nature of our district.
Yeah, I think it'll help them to understand the topography at least. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Does anyone else have any other comments? Or
Just on the minor consents, again, they're just understanding that definition. So coverage area of a section, you know, would that be minor, or is that part of your overall building? Or
yeah, well, what we're going to do is review the criteria, and I'm happy to share the new criteria with councillors. I can circulate that. I think it's just getting the balance right. If I make it to, you know, so it covers 50% of applications, then I'm going to lose money and blow the budget. So I just got to get that balance between what we can do at a set fee. I think we can extend that to definitely earthworks consents, or earthworks consents up to a certain level. They can get under the, you know, it's about $1,800 sort of set fee for it. Might be a bit more now, but it's around that. I just want to see what we can sort of, you know, capture at that fee amount.
Yeah.
What guides it really.
That's good. So you're keeping that balance of revenue.
Yep.
With ease of process.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Lloyd, the news coming out of Wellington is that they're going to extend Schedule 1 of the Building Act to include dwellings or habitable buildings up to 60 square metres. Have you heard anything about this? I know that this is going to cause you more problems than it will Alistair in his place, because we're going to get unchecked construction. Have you heard anything? And or if you have, is there a likelihood? And if so, are you preparing for it?
It's no to both questions, actually. I haven't heard about it. I don't know, Alistair, have you heard, or Matt?
No, it's never tried.
Can I add here? I did hear about it. Mr. Luxon said that publicly, but I was just taking clarification. Is it more to do with the EV housing, or is it for general public?
I don't think there was any distinction on race. It was a general 60 square meters. Look, we'll leave it at that because so we'll wait until it happens if it does.
Okay.
Well, hey, well, thanks very much for that.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Lloyd and Alistair. It's really very heartening for me, and I'm sure the whole council, to see how actively you've got on board with the direction that we want, and you know, following that upper level direction from the chief executive with the memorandum for activating growth in the Kaipara. I guess my only question around that is, when you have your staff meetings, do you take turns at reading paragraphs from the memorandum, or are the staff expected to recite it?
Recite it.
Yeah, that's the bit I wanted. Now, well, I think you're all.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Much. Howard and Chief Executive Maris, you had some conversations about some other items. Where did you land with that? Are we doing anything else today?
It's in the very capable hands of CEO Maris, just talking about, and particularly this being Paul's first meeting that he's been at, some of the elements that we detailed back in about August.
So through you, Mr. Chair, thank you, Councillor. So what I wanted to just cover off briefly was economic development strategy, the growth strategy that we talked about last year.
Yes.
In progress in that space. So obviously it took a while to get Paul on deck, not because of Paul, because just the recruitment process, but we're stoked to have Paul on deck now, which is great. What we've done in the past with this committee is we've had a development briefing to get your direction as far as what your thoughts were. Then we had that community and business workshop, if you recall, in this very venue. And we got the outputs for that. And then Howard, you kindly did some additional work off your own back and provided that through to the committee as well. So I provided all of that information. I was getting a bit worried about our recruitment process and the time it was taking late last year. So I talked to Paul Linton at Northern Inc and said, hey, we need to get this show on the road, for want of a better phrase, and get this growth strategy together. So he has kindly agreed for his team to oversee the project manager, call it what you will, and get a draft in to help us write and take all that information that we've got and provide a draft strategy, draft strategy together. I agreed to fund that. It's not that expensive, 5 to 7K, so it's not that bad. And I've asked Paul to follow up with Northern Inc now and start giving us some oomph. And I had a talk to Paul Linton last week too. So the end result of that is that we're going to get that drafted. The next Economic Development Committee briefing, I think, in April, I'd say. So what I want to do is get a draft together and send it out by email for you first, for any feedback type thing. And then bring it back to that briefing as well, so you guys can have a bit more solid input and have a look at the draft in a bit more detail and see if it hits the mark from your perspective.
Okay, I guess my question to that, Jason, is, it's great that we've got Paul on board, and I think that everybody's hankering to get going and get things happening. And there are some things happening, and I'll just allude to one particular thing in a second. I just have this concern. This is key for us. We started this, I think, our first meeting in March or April last year, and we're talking with sort of build a framework. The frustration is time. And, I think we wait till April to even get a draft of this and have a meeting and then start implementing. You know, it's a slow burn, and we really have from April, maybe 12, 14 months to move in this term. So I'm just conscious of time, and I'm, you know, without short-circuiting things and not doing things properly, I'm just keen to move as fast as we can on economic development. I just wonder if it is possible, you know, for Northland Inc. to bring it forward. I can tell you in these rooms that I'm having to chase them for engagement and even feedback on the strategies that we've put forward on the golf tourism project. So I'm just a little bit concerned about the time, more than a little bit concerned about the time factor, but that could be my enthusiasm about wanting to push ahead as hard and fast as we can.
Can I suggest, Councillor Howard, that we see whether that Jason can organise it such that we get it done as soon as possible. As soon as it's done, we get it circulated. If we can get it to a point where we're generally happy with it, we can then have a briefing, perhaps if we can fit it in scheduled out of the normal routine, and transact recommendation of that draft to the full council from a meeting following that, and then get it onto the next council meeting agenda for adoption. That's going to work.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, happy to try and fast forward as much as we possibly can. I totally agree. I did say to you all that it was dependent on the economic development lead. I did get concerns last year that we were taking a little longer than anticipated for that recruitment. So that's why I pushed it off to Northland Inc. We will be following that up, and Paul's obviously listening to this as well, and he'll treat that up, and I'll cover it off with Paul Linton too. And you know, also very aware that that workshop I think was September. Yep. Well, so I'm hearing you. Yep. So
it's the opportunity. It's the opportunity, and that point I was going to raise now, and I've circulated just in the last quarter of an hour to a number of you, is that we had some fantastic news last night that the prospectus has now been issued for our secondary school here. And so I encourage everybody to read that, and we will circulate that to interested parties. Obviously, the funding is the key thing, but they're talking about land up just on the other side of the Cove Road intersection on Tara, and sounding very, very positive about progress. But, you know, time is a factor for them. So we can have a chat about that a bit later.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at it now, and you're saying over 230 expressions of interest have been received.
Yep. And there's, I won't go into the details here, but there's been some very significant pledges of funding.
Very good. That's excellent. And I mean, from the perspective of this strategy process, Jason has done what we've asked of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the initiative of getting Northland Inc. in to help pull some of those pieces together is excellent as well. So,
and contacts.
They're running very soon.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a few comments, if I could, Chair.
Go ahead, Your Worship.
It's nice to welcome Paul into the team. We're going to be really productive. And Sean, thank you for taking the job here with our team, because it's an important one. And I'd like to thank Lloyd and Alistair for making some gains. I can see them coming, because one of the biggest criteria we've got to beat, I think, for economic development is to make it so people have the confidence to do things without, for example, running in headlong into issues with traffic management and costly peer reviews and confusion over what is required. I mean, that's pretty basic stuff that we need to simplify, I think, you know, for people who want to undertake projects. Another exciting thing is we had a meeting. I didn't go to a meeting, went to a poffery on Sunday morning at 6:30. The Deputy Mayor and I met Matt Ducey from the National Party, who's the new tourism minister, and he's keen to come and talk with us. We found them really approachable. And those cruise ships coming in there, these tourists are quite happy to hop on a bus and spend 2 hours driving to get to locations like Mangawai. So, you know, that's pretty exciting stuff. And the other thing we learned at that Pope Ferry is evidently the Mr. Malloy's Medical Centre starts the first turning of the turf up the road here. Are you aware of that?
Next week.
So that's another thing that's the community's really keen to see happen. So, you know, things are moving, and yeah, I'm excited about where we're going forward. There's so much to do. I mean, I want to see the council's website change so it becomes more of a promotional tool for the district as well, and CE Maris is on board with that. And Paul, I can see you being deeply involved in that. And yeah, we'll hopefully, Councillor Howard, we'll get those real big gains in the next 14 months. I can see it coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Anyone else got anything they want to add before CE Maris wraps up? All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, look, so obviously the strategy is to keep it at work with Paul on deck now. Like he said to you right at the very start of this briefing, we're going to be working very closely together on his key priorities over the next year, based on what you've already told us, which I think is really pleasing and progressive. It's great to have him on deck, to be honest. As far as that website goes, we have predicted a domain name already. Some months ago. It won't be our council website. I think they need to be separate, to be honest, because we'll get bored with the council website and we need to make it actually more engaging. So that's one of the key priorities as well. Do want to pass on my thanks to the team for reporting today, and obviously the work involved in progressing key bits of work and initiatives to fulfil your vision and outcomes. So I'm quite pleased with the progress we've made. There's a lot more to do, absolutely, but we'll get there. For sure. So that's about it.
Wonderful. Brilliant. All right, we'll close up there. Thanks everyone online, and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later online.
Thanks.